Thrift hauls are becoming more and more popular by the day. Fashion it girls are stocking up on all the best vintage finds, resale stores are taking the best pieces to mark up the prices, and people on the internet love to show a huge haul of all the goodies that they found for an affordable price. Has thrifting become the next form of overconsumption? Hello there and welcome back to another video. My name is Lainey Jean if you're new here, and if you're not new here, thank you so much for coming back and watching another video. Before we get into the video, I feel like it's only right that I make an official statement and announcement that I have launched memberships on my channel. This is something that I've been thinking about doing for a while, but I wasn't sure if people would have interest, and I figured what harm would it do to launch it? If nobody decides that they want to partake in it, that's totally fine, but I wanted to be able to give you guys the option to help support me so I can make more content for you. So things like early access to videos, membership only live streams, membership live chats together, different badges and special emojis, along with 1 or 2 special member only videos per month. Feel free to join. I also made a community post going over all the different things for each tier. There's a level 1 tier, which is $4.99, and a level 2 tier, which is $9.99. So feel free to join if you want to. Speaking of being able to make more content for you, I recently discovered that 80% of you who watch my videos and come back and watch more of my videos are not subscribed. So if you don't mind taking a second, it's totally free for you and it helps out my channel a lot by getting these videos out so that more people can see these videos and learn about overconsumption and sustainability and conscious consumerism. And the last little thing I'm gonna plug is my Instagram. If you wanna follow me over there, it's just Lainey Unplugged. Okay, with all that out of the way, now we can get into the actual meat of the video. So I'm going to start by defining overconsumption in 2 separate ways. The Merriam-Webster dictionary definition says that overconsumption is just the excessive consumption or use of something, which is a pretty broad term. The deeper definition I'm going to go off of is overconsumption refers to the excessive use of resources, goods, and services leading to detrimental environmental, social, and psychological effects. It encompasses the overexploitation of natural resources like water, timber, fossil fuels, as well as the consumption of commodities such as electronic devices and vehicles. That's a very long explanation, but basically going into that it refers to excessive uses of like resources and labor and has impact on the environment. I have been thinking a lot about overconsumption and its relation to fashion. Obviously, we talk a lot about the fast fashion industry on here. I'm trying to be better about talking about those more common companies for people to shop at that may not feel like they're fast fashion when they really are, because obviously everyone knows that Shein and Temu is fast fashion, but you might not be aware that places like Nike and Adidas and H&M and even Old Navy and Gap are technically fast fashion. I started thinking a lot about thrifting and how most of the content I'm seeing online is very similar to the content that I see with overconsumption in fast fashion. And it made me start to wonder if the parallels were almost making secondhand clothing the same as the overconsumption in new fashion. And my initial thought was, oh my gosh, thrifting is just overconsumption, but with this like glorified aspect to it of you're getting after someone else wore it. Because it's really easy to think that when people post massive hauls of clothing and then declutter them shortly after to make more room to get more hauls, it is really easy to see that as the exact same as what's happening in fast fashion. They're very similar. The conclusion I've kind of come to is a lot more than is it or is it not overconsumption, and we're going to talk about that later. I think there are a lot of factors we have to consider, such as how frequently are you buying, the quantity of which you buy things, do you declutter frequently, is this financially responsible for you? Something people hate to discuss is the financial side of it. Can you do the things you said that you were going to do with a piece when you buy it? And are you treating these clothes like a fast fashion trend? These are all things that I feel like are being very missed in the discussion online with the thrifting content we see. So I kind of want to just bring them to the table today and discuss it, and hopefully you can give me your thoughts in the comments. So starting off strong with frequency, aka how often you are thrifting. Personally, I am a wear what you have before you buy anything kind of person. That's just what I prefer to do. I think it's the most sustainable option. I talk about this in pretty much anything across the board. You should be using the products you already have before you're going to buy something, regardless of if it's a more sustainable alternative or not. And that doesn't mean you can't ever buy secondhand pieces or new pieces, but I think so many people get bored of what they already have and immediately jump to, well, I'll just buy something else and get rid of what bores me. I would argue that in the same way you would wait to buy an expensive piece. Like people that would want to buy, the first brand that came to my mind is Colleen Strata. They are a high-end fashion company that is making their pieces more sustainably. So the same way that someone would wait and save up to buy one of their pieces, I think you should also be doing that when you're thrifting. Just because something doesn't maybe cost hundreds, if not thousands of dollars, doesn't mean it isn't worth the extra consideration before you buy it. I scroll through Depop every single day, and I have been, or at least almost every single day, and I have been for the past 1 to 2 years. And I've only bought 2 things. To be clear, that's not me flexing, but I'm using it as evidence to my point that we really need to be thinking about what we buy before we buy it just because it's in front of, like, we shouldn't be buying things just because it's in front of us or just because it's secondhand. So these are the steps I take before getting an item. You don't have to take all of these steps. Maybe for you, this might feel a little bit too in-depth, but even adopting a few of them could make you feel like your purchases are more intentional. So the first thing I do is if I think about an item on my own organically that I feel I am missing in my closet, I will put it on a list in my notes app on my phone. I call it the gap list. This is something I have an entire video on if you want to look at it, because I did make a video talking about decluttering my closet and also just like reorganizing my closet in a way that allows me to wear all of my pieces on a regular basis without forgetting about them. Making a gap list where you can keep track of how often you think of that thing with little tally marks, and then setting a limit for how long it has to be on that list or how many times you have to think about it before you allow yourself to buy it. Now, I think a good rule of thumb is waiting like a month or waiting until you have between 5 and 10 tallies where you've been thinking about it. For me, I end up usually waiting more like 6 months because I really think through what I get. I need to be 100% sure that it's not just a trend that's making me feel influenced to buy it and that it's not an impulse purchase. And because I don't have like the biggest budget to be shopping even secondhand, so I really have to consider if it is something that is going to get the proper use within my own wardrobe. So if it's been on my list for about a month, I will start going on to Depop and Poshmark and Benny and Vinted and all those secondhand places and save anything that meets the requirements that I have listed for myself for that item, and wait another few weeks before buying it. If I stop thinking about it after I've saved those items, I don't get it, because clearly I just needed the feeling of like putting it in a folder or like adding it to cart and then getting off the app and not actually purchasing it. If I keep thinking about it, I will get out my wearing app or even go onto the Depop app itself and create outfits with pieces in my closet, or like if I'm doing it on Depop with a piece where it lets you automatically like drag it in, I'll just find pieces similar to what I already have in my closet to see if it will work with about 5 to 10 outfits with things I already own. If it does, amazing. Then the next point that we have to cover is, do we have money set aside or available that month to purchase it? And if yes, then I will get it. And if not, I will either start slowly saving up money to be able to purchase it, or I will move on from it. I don't think it's weird to consider your purchases this deeply. Yet most people think the process of buying things should be more like this. You find an item, you go, oh, that's cute. How much is it? Oh, that's not bad. Buy it. And then you might regret buying it. Maybe not immediately. Maybe it's a couple months down the road. Maybe it's a year down the road, but you don't give the piece the actual wear that it needs. And if this is happening over and over again, you're building up a closet of pieces that don't actually feel like you, and it's just a bunch of stuff that maybe doesn't go together, and you're stuck in a place where you have to decide if you're going to get rid of everything or if you're just going to try to make do with it. Along with how often you buy things, we also need to consider the quantity of which you are buying. A particular thing that I don't like within the thrifting community that I feel is like this subconscious idea that people have is, if you go on a thrift trip, like if you take a trip to the thrift store, if you come out empty-handed, you're a bad thrifter, you didn't do good, when in reality, I think it's really normal to go into a thrift store and walk out empty-handed. We don't need to be buying stuff every single time we go thrifting. And going back to the point of like cluttering up your wardrobe with a bunch of pieces that you might not like, it's not just cluttering up your physical space, but those things can also be cluttering up your mental space. Now, does this impact the environment in any way, or is this overconsumption? Well, we'll touch on that in a minute. But with this mass quantity of what people bring into their closet in these videos that have become so normal online, we have to look at what comes after, which is decluttering. How often do you see a creator post a thrift haul and then within a couple months, they post a decluttering their closet video? It happens way more frequently than we realize. Because in order to make space for all the things that you want to buy and all these hauls that you have to make room by decluttering and getting rid of pieces that you are no longer wearing. And sometimes it's not even that you need to get rid of a piece, but you got something very similar to something you already own, so you feel like you can't have two of them, and it's fine to just get rid of one of them because you like the newer version better. And this is really where I start to wonder if thrifting is very similar to the cycle of fast fashion. People will wear a piece that they thrifted in a certain season and throw it away the following year because they are past that trend, and they justify it because it's secondhand. Or they will say something like, oh, well, at least it's not fast fashion. Well, yeah, sure, it's not fast fashion, but the actions are the same. The behaviors are the exact same. And my opinion still stands that we need to be wearing the clothes we have as much as possible. Even if you don't necessarily love the pieces that you have in your closet, trying to find ways to wear them or repurpose them or rework them should be the first choice. And of course, it's a different situation. I do have to put the disclaimer in there. I'm not talking about if you grow out of your clothes. If you grow out of your clothes and there's no way for you to fit in them, like, I'm not asking you to hold on to those in hopes to fit into them again someday. That is not what I'm promoting here. Get rid of your clothes at that point and thrift new clothes that fit your current body. Once you declutter, the cycle starts all over again, where you feel like you have made the space in your closet to go and purchase new items, whether it be new to you or completely new, to fill up your closet again. But this language and this cycle feels very backwards to me, because if you were getting rid of clothes in the first place because your closet felt too full, once you get rid of some of those pieces, why is it that our brains automatically go to a place of, oh, well, now I have space that I can fill? Your original issue was that you didn't have space. You just made the space. Leave it with the space. Like, I'm sorry, it just doesn't make sense to me. It feels like the complete opposite of what the purpose of decluttering is. And before we move on, I just want to make one more note about decluttering and like donating to thrift stores. Donating your clothes doesn't automatically mean that you can guarantee that those clothes are getting rebought and given a new life. 70 to 80% of the clothes that are donated to thrift stores end up in the landfill, and a huge chunk of them end up getting exported for profit to places like northern India, where thousands of workers turn it into low-grade yarn to make things like rugs, and it exposes them to health risks that have been found, such as lung disease. Now, obviously, this process is not on the individual, because we need to have rules and regulations by our governments to not allow companies to just send these things off to other countries and have it no longer be our problem. We need to have a closed loop system that requires companies to continue to reuse the fabrics that they've already created and the materials that they've already used. But we do have the power to consume mindfully to help reduce the number of clothes that go into the landfill, which is why I keep trying to say, wear what you already have. Really get the use out of the clothes you already have when you can. And even if it's past the point of wearing, trying to find a way to repurpose it, like the classic, if you have a cotton tee that you can't wear anymore, cut it up and use it as like rags or dish towels or something in your house. And now we need to talk a little bit about the money aspect of this. I guess you could call it the financial aspect of this whole thing. Thrifting is usually seen as the cheaper alternative to buying new. And I think that is one of the main things that draws in buyers, is they feel like they can get way more quantity of things for way less money. And going back to that idea of fast fashion, that can be dangerous because it can make people feel comfortable buying 5 different renditions of the same thing to maybe only actually wear one and then redonate the other 4 when they only needed one in the first place. Thrifting being the cheaper alternative doesn't necessarily mean that people are being smart with their money. There are plenty of people who will go into thrift stores for one specific thing and they come out with an entire haul. And that's not being responsible with what your goal was of going into that thrift store in the first place, if that makes sense. Of course, like, it's not my job to tell you how to spend your money, but I'm going to remind you that when you thrift, it's good to have a budget along with like a list of things that you are genuinely looking for. Again, going back to the gap list, being really clear on what it is you're looking for so that you don't get sidetracked and buy things that you don't need need or won't actually use, which is why I have a bit of an issue with the videos where people go into a thrift store and just say, I'm just gonna get whatever speaks to me. It's like, okay, it might speak to you now, but in a month you're gonna be like, why did that speak to me? I hate it. Not that that happens for everyone. I can't speak for everyone, but I think it happens a decent amount of times when we do impulse purchases in any sense, whether it's secondhand or new. And just because something is less expensive or cheap or more affordable doesn't mean it's affordable for everyone or affordable when you are buying, again, huge hauls. Here's some like miscellaneous thoughts I have about the whole thing too before we wrap up this video. I think it's amazing to see the artists that go into thrift stores repurpose pieces, repair pieces, or completely create new pieces out of these thrifted fabrics. Oftentimes these products end up using more than one piece of thrifted clothing to make the new item that they're making. So it's getting use out of these products. So I guess in that sense, if you are getting a decent amount of clothes, that does make sense. I'm happy that thrifting has become less stigmatized than when I was younger. I feel like I grew up thrifting for a lot of stuff. And at the time, I felt like it was kind of one of those things where it was like, oh, just don't tell people it's thrifted. And I think that we've gotten to a place now where it's cool to buy things secondhand and a bit more popularized. But now for the answer to the big question, is it overconsumption? Like I said before, in my opinion, it's not that easy of an answer. While secondhand clothes don't take any energy or labor or resources to make, it doesn't directly impact the environment in that way. We are definitely in a time where people don't even consider the original labor that went into a piece, and they see secondhand shopping as an excuse to buy more. We also have to consider that like with online secondhand shopping, there are emissions that are being made because people are shipping these things to other places around the world. So there is that kind of impact from it if we're not thrifting in person. It feels like thrifting is sold to us as this morally righteous thing. And while I think it's a better option than fast fashion, of course, like I don't think fast fashion should be our first choice. I think secondhand should be our first choice if you're looking for something. If we're approaching it with the same shopping habits as we are with fast fashion, I think that there is probably some reflecting that people need to do about how they're approaching the clothes that they're buying. So next time you go thrifting, remember to have a plan, have a budget. Don't feel bad if you walk away empty-handed. That's totally normal and okay. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think we've gotten to a place where thrifting is teetering on overconsumption? Do we think that people are just using it as a band-aid to shopping problems? Do you feel like you really process a purchase before you buy it, or do you catch yourself doing impulse purchases? Let me know your thoughts. I know this might be a bit of a controversial video and I'm kind of scared to share it, but something I've been thinking on for a couple months now. So with all that being said, thank you so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, please be sure to give the video a thumbs up. It really helps out the channel. Again, subscribe and turn on post notifications so you get notified every single time I upload a new video, and I will see you in the next one. Love you. Bye.